Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Raw Parenting Unfiltered. I'm so glad that you're here with me. I'm BJ Muir, a heart based parenting coach, and I'm so glad to have you here. Whether you're going to join me here live or you're watching on the replay, so glad that you're here with us. So let's get started. Today, we're going to be delving into your questions about parenting. And if you have a question and you're here live, that takes precedent over anything else. I've got some questions right over here on my other screen, ready to read off and kind of go through. But if you're here live, put your question in the comments section and you'll get top priority. As long as I've got enough people in there, I'll be going through questions there. But if I don't have enough there, I will also get some of these questions here. If you're watching this on the replay, there is a link down in the description that you can click on. It'll take you to a Google form that just asks you to ask your question there, and you'll see me answer that question in a future episode of Raw Parenting Unfiltered. All right. So I don't know about you, but this has been a busy week for us at our family. We have been in transition with me heading back to school. Our kids have been starting homeschool. So we've had a lot going on in family life. And on top of that, that doesn't mean just because we're in transition that other stuff stops. I've been working on redoing one of our bathrooms here. Now, it is not a gut job and build from scratch and everything else. We don't have I don't have the talent for that. I know people who do, but I don't have the talent for that, nor do I have the time for that, nor do I have the finances for all that either. So we've had this rather ugly bathroom in our home for since we got here. It had it's very small, like 5x7, 6x8 space with, basic toilet, stand-in shower with a glass door that opens up and a sink. And the glass door has gold trim all around it, and the sink had a gold faucet on it, and the floors were just peel and stick white laminate, and the walls were floor to ceiling green jade marble tile type tiles. They're huge, big, loud, uh, and just there. Not exactly our tastes, though maybe they're somebody's taste out there. And we didn't like it, but we had 100 other things to do when we moved in here almost a decade ago, and a little over a decade ago now that I think about it. But I thought, gosh, we can't knock down all those tile walls and try to rebuild this. It's just going to be too much. And there was also some tile, not ceramic tile, but I don't know what the product is, but some tile that you put on the ceiling. If you know what it is, put in the comments so I can know what it is too. And we had to take some of that down, which left it was glued by the previous owner to the sheetrock underneath. So the sheetrock underneath was all kinds of crazy bad. Now I know how to paint, I know how to spackle, but if I'm honest, I was really intimidated by the ceiling job. The idea of trying to joint compound that, because it was just going to need to be fully joint compounded over the whole thing, more than a skim coat. Trying to do that and make it look good, that intimidated me because I thought, I don't know if my skill set is up to that par. I also knew, I know you can paint tile, but I'm not so sure what products to use, how good it would be, if it's just going to go off. And I have no idea if I can do anything about that gold trim. And if I'm honest with everybody out there watching me, that intimidation led me to inaction. It's not only that, working as a public school teacher, getting home, having 8 kids and a wife, doing all the things you do when you're a family, and then also jumping on to making YouTube videos or coaching families on Zoom. I had enough to fill my time for sure. But the truth is, if I really wanted that bathroom done, I would have made the time. But I was intimidated by it. Years, just really horrible. There's 2 light fixtures in there. One light fixture just stopped working completely, so it was dark in there. It was just a horrible bathroom. It just scare people to go in there. It was so dark at times. So I finally looked this summer and said, this thing just needs to get done. And I started chatting with ChatGPT, kind of saying, okay, here's the situation. I put pictures in there, talked about, okay, what products do I need and things like that. And between myself and my dad, who knows a lot about painting, because that was his profession and what I did for a little while as well, and ChatGPT and a couple of friends, between all of that, I came up with a game plan of how to refinish that ceiling, how to make sure that the glue doesn't bleed through, what products I need to put over that, how do I make sure the mold and mildew doesn't come, how do I prep those tiles for grabbing onto the paint that I put on. And of course, while I'm doing this, uh, the fan breaks. The fan just stopped working, and I had to change out the fan motor, which I never did a motor before. I did change out the switch on the wall, which I've done a little bit of electrical work, so that felt okay. But the motor, that was intimidating. And right now, it's about 2/3 done. It's not all the way done yet. But can I tell you what I've learned? I've learned that I shouldn't let intimidation stop me. And I learned that I can do a lot more than I think I can do if I'm willing to look at things that scare me a little bit and push ahead anyway. And so now I have a ceiling that looks really nice, actually, and has a nice new light fixture in it that we found on Marketplace or something like that for a lot cheaper that we could actually afford. And the walls have 2 coats of paint on them. They got prepped and sanded and all kinds of cleaners and primers and everything else. And now they got 2 coats of paint on them. And I got to put one more coat on them, and then they're done. And then we'll be on to changing out the floors, uh, and putting in a free toilet we got that's in great shape, and finding a little sink and oh, remember that gold trim? I learned how to spray paint all that and take care of that. So it's going to end up looking like a little bit more. We're going for like a farmhouse look, and I'm really excited about it. And I have never felt better about that bathroom. I mean, it wasn't too hard to feel better about that bathroom. It's pretty ugly. Sorry if you liked it, but I was ugly in my opinion. But I let intimidation keep me frozen for years. Years. And like I said, did I have other stuff going on? Yeah. Did I have years worth of other stuff going on? Probably not. When I think about where I was at emotionally with a bathroom, that's a bathroom. There's very little on the line there. How do we then bring those emotions over to our parenting? How many times do we get intimidated in our parenting, that we feel like we don't have what it takes, or we see other parents and they seem to get it together, especially if you just watch people on Facebook or Instagram or wherever, they all seem to have it together. Those are all just the good side of life. They're not the other stuff that it took to get to the good side, but it still intimidates us and we think we can't do it. And we beat ourselves up and we take ourselves out of the parenting game before anyone else does. And when we do that, we let the enemies of God win. We let them win in our lives and in our children's lives because we're not engaging the way we can engage. So I want to encourage you tonight, as we're going through these questions, I'm going to be giving you some answers. If you've got a question, put it in the comments if you're here live. If you're watching on the replay, go to the link in the description, click on it, and give me your question. Then I'll answer it in another live stream. But I want to encourage you, whatever area of your parenting right now that you're feeling intimidated by, or just like, I can't do it, or maybe you're even feeling this sense of shame because you're just like, I can't. Don't allow that feeling to stop you from taking action. Acknowledge that feeling, recognize it's there, ask yourself some deeper questions about, why am I feeling shame in this area? Why am I feeling intimidated in this area? Why don't I feel that way? And then start pursuing moving forward in whatever area. Maybe it isn't parenting. Maybe it's just another personal area of your life or professional area of your life. But if it's parenting, move forward in that area. Get some resources, watch some more videos on this YouTube channel, uh, check out JesusHelpMeParent.com and grab some things there. But move forward. Because in moving forward, even if you don't know exactly how to move forward, the act of stepping forward is an act of faith that says, Jesus, I trust you. And I trust that you will be there When I take that step, I trust you'll be there before my foot lands, and you will help me in that situation. Start doing that, and all of a sudden you're going to turn around and you're going to be 2/3 of the way through your parenting thing you're doing, or whatever other thing you're doing. Like I'm 2/3 of the way through my bathroom project, and you're going to say, wow, hey, wait a second. I I can do more things than I realized. And it's because I'm relying on Jesus to help me through this here. And I'm not allowing myself to believe the lies anymore. So, hope that encourages you a little bit. And I'll let you know when the bathroom's done. In the meantime, let's take a look at our questions. I've got one question here. My 9-year-old, excuse me, let me try that again. My 9-year-old often complains that life isn't fair compared to his friends or siblings. For instance, if his sister gets more screen time or a new toy, he immediately starts comparing and arguing. He will argue loudly, stomp away, or even make sarcastic comments. I don't want to dismiss his feelings, but I also don't want him to grow up entitled or bitter. How can I help him process fairness and manage his emotions better? Thank you so much for this question. And I appreciate the challenge that you have here of you're recognizing, hey, I want to acknowledge that there's some real emotion behind what he's feeling right there, but I don't want to just embrace that either. I want to walk this middle road. So let's talk about what that middle road looks like. First, let's look at your child's heart. What's going on deeper down behind the behavior? If we're looking there, we're seeing a couple things. We're seeing jealousy, we're seeing discontentment, we're seeing comparisons going on, deeper issues. Now, that might lead to what do we need to do instead? Well, we need to develop more gratitude. We need to develop more contentment. We probably need to develop some humility. And we likely also need to develop some concepts of self worth that might be behind some of this as well. Let's look at all of these. So, in the moment, your kid right now is, I'm reading this again, stomping away, arguing loudly, or making sarcastic remarks. So, those are three things we want to start addressing. So, in the moment, when it's happening, call your child over. Hopefully, we can get to your kid before it starts happening, but let's say it just starts happening. Call your kid over in that moment, hopefully, before he says too much, and look him in the eyes and just say, like, hey, let me see your eyes for a minute. Wow, you're really jealous about this, aren't you? Or you're really upset about this. Right? Like, name what's going on. What you're trying to do in this moment, you're trying to connect with your kid. And in connecting with your child at that moment, your child's going to feel seen. It would be very easy to say, hey, you stop talking to your sister that. Hey, you don't talk to your sister. That's very nasty what you're saying. Hey, stop being so sarcastic. You're really going to hurt somebody. It'd be very easy to do that, but it won't reach your kid's heart. So we need to get in there. To get in there, the first way in is through connection. And so we're going to make some eye contact. We're going to make a comment that just acknowledges you're feeling this way. Like, wow, you're really upset right now, aren't you? And your kid's probably going to be like, yeah, I'm really upset. I can't believe he gets to, or whatever it is. Or they might just drop their shoulders and just feel understood and just be like, yes, I am. At that moment, when you've made that connection, move into some attuning strategies, whether that's a little bit of breathing, getting a drink of water, asking if they want a hug, whatever works for your kid to help them calm a little bit. Start moving into there, because if you just start with that, you're gonna miss the mark. If your kid's upset making these comments and you just go, hey, come here, let's do some breathing, it's not gonna work because you didn't connect first. It's so important to connect first. This is why my acronym CALM starts with connect and then attune. Then we're gonna move into lean on God's truth and then map out a plan. So we're gonna connect, we're gonna start attuning that kid's heart, helping them calm down in the moment. Then we're going to turn to God's truth. And we're going to say, wow, like we've identified you're really hurt, you're really upset, you're really whatever it is. We want to ask ourselves, what does God say in this situation? This is really hard for you right now, but I also know, I know you really would like to get a toy just like that. But I also know that God tells us that we should celebrate with those who are celebrating. But I bet that's probably pretty hard right now. And if all I did was say, but God says you should celebrate with those who are celebrating, or if I even had the chapter and verse from the Bible that says something like that, that could really just hurt my kid right there because I kind of met them where they were at. I helped them calm down. Then I told them, and here's what God says, kid, you're wrong. So I don't want to do it that way, but I do want to point them to God's truth. So I'm going to say, thinking about how hard this is for you, and thinking about how God calls us to celebrate with those who are happy and celebrating too. But that might be hard. So let me give you an idea for how you might be able to get a little closer to that. And this is where we move into the M, the map. And we have to give them a plan. We have to say something like, in the moment when you're in there, instead of what you're doing now, which is saying sarcastic things or being mean or stomping away, you could just say something as simple as, wow, that looks like a really great toy. Don't teach your kid to say, wow, I'm so happy for you, because your kid's not happy for them. Like, don't lie, right? But wow, that looks like a really great toy. And then if your kid's not able to do any more than that, say, and then come on out and check in with me. And when your kid comes to you now, imagine the change here. If your kid does this, instead of stomping away, instead of making a sarcastic remark, or instead of being rude, if your kid sees something, instead of getting jealous and doing all that, saying, wow, that looks like a really fun toy, or even, that looks like a really fun toy, I'd love to play with that at some point. And then they walk out and come to you and say, Mom, I'm really jealous about what my brother just got, or I'm really frustrated, or whatever the word is they choose. Think about what just happened. They preserve the relationship with the sibling or the friend there, but they're still being emotionally honest and they're coming to you. And you can then at that point look at them and say, oh, wow, yeah, that's really hard, isn't it? I bet you'd love to play with that, wouldn't you? So what did you do in that moment? And your kid's going to say, I said this comment. And you're going to say, wow, that's a great way to handle it. Let's make a plan. You and I, we'll talk to your sister maybe in a couple of days when the toy's not so new. You could take a turn with it or whatever it is. It'll be a couple of days, but you get the idea. Teach your kid in the moment how to handle that situation better. Expect it to still be difficult. And if they still mess it up, don't shame them. Don't blame them. Don't yell at them. Just do the same thing. Call them out. Connect, attune, go through the plan again. Enough times through this, taking the heart through this, and your kid will all of a sudden one day do that. That's how we're going to handle the moment. But let's talk about the bigger picture of the heart. Working on developing humility, developing gratitude, contentment. We want to use a lot of tools, and there are tons of ideas and strategies out there to work on developing a heart of gratitude and contentment in our kids. I'm going to give you a couple right now, but there's plenty more out there. One thing that we want to do, start making contentment and gratitude a part of family life. Or go around the table at dinner time or whenever your family gathers regularly and talk about things you're thankful for that day. What's one thing you're thankful for? What's one way you saw God do something? But talk about gratitude in the moment, because what's going to happen is you're modeling it for your kids. When your kids see you being content, expressing gratitude, they will start to catch a vision for it too and do it as well. So model that and practice it regularly. That's one habit of the family that can change. Another habit of the family that can change is a praise and prayers board. It could be a board, it could be a notebook, but some place where you're writing down prayers that you have, ways that those prayers are answered, or maybe it's just a bulletin board or a spot where you can, a white erase board in your kitchen, where you can just write things that you're thankful for, that you've seen God do today, that are just positive things that happened. And maybe at dinner time we read those, or some other time we catch them. But even if they just stayed there and you never read them aloud together, visually they're there all the time. Speaking loudly to your kids over and over and over again. This reminds me of the story of Joshua and the Israelites after they've crossed the Jordan River. Remember, it's an amazing miracle. They're able to cross. It's the flood seasons. The waters are coming down off of Mount Mount Hermon, which is the land of spiritual darkness. So spiritual darkness is trying to keep God's promised people from God's promised land, and they cross it, with Yahweh leading the way with the Ark of the Covenant. And they place these 12 stones that they pick up 12 giant stones from the middle of the Jordan, and they plop them on the side. And when people say, what's this stack of stones doing over here, Joshua? He says, we're putting those there because when our kids and grandkids see these things, they're going to say, what is this, Grandma? What is this, Grandpa? We're telling them this story. So you're doing the same idea with that white erase board or a place you put Post-it notes up. You are building that stack of stones that speaks loudly to your kids, and they're going to want to add to that too. So we want to find lots of ways to add gratitude practices into family life. Another practice you want to start looking at is honor. How can you start living a life where you're looking to serve others, where you treat others as special, do more than what's expected, and have a good attitude? If you go to JesusHelpMeParent.com/resources, you'll see, if you scroll down there, I have a bunch of free resources there. One of them, though, is all about teaching your kids honor. You'll also find videos right here on this YouTube channel, and I'll try to grab some and put down below, all about teaching your kids how to honor others, how to live like Jesus lives. Look for ways to honor your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, your neighbor. Because when you're doing that, you're placing yourself in a humble position of the heart, because you're serving others. You're recognizing, I'm not better than anybody. I'm serving others. I'm loving others the way Jesus tells me to. You do that enough times, you give the heart practice of being able to serve others. And then when a kid gets a new toy, when a kid gets to go on an experience with an aunt or uncle and I don't, I have a better attitude about those things. I'm able to respond in a much better way. Finally, one other thing is to help our child if they're struggling with some concepts about self. They're going to need some more connection. Maybe our kid is feeling left out, unseen, or just unknown in some way. And they might not be able to articulate that. So we want to engage in more relationship building practices with our kids, connecting with them one-on-one on a regular basis, finding ways to, bringing them along when we go to the store. I just tonight had one of my younger kids. I said, hey, you want to cook dinner with me? Yeah. Dropped the book right away, jumped off the couch, came running into the kitchen, and she loved every minute of it. And so did I. And we got to connect during that time. Getting on the floor and playing with the blocks and the Legos and the dolls and the teas, all that stuff is building connection. And again, if you want more on building connection and building cooperation in family life, JesusHelpMeParent.com/connected cooperation. A lot of great things right there, and a great resource for you as well. But you start doing some of this intentional heart work, where we are doing some practical things to address the moment where our child's struggling with jealousy, discontentment, and comparison, as well as doing some training activities of the heart, where we're building in opportunities to develop gratitude, contentment, and doing some connecting activities to develop self-worth. You're going to suddenly start seeing a shift in your family life towards more positive momentum. Thanks for your question. I appreciate it so much. All right. Well, if you're here with me live, give it a thumbs up if you thought that was helpful for you too. And if you've got a question while you're here with me live, put it in the chat box. I'll get to yours. You get priority over any questions that have come in during the week. And in the meantime, if you're watching on the replay, go to the link down below in the description, click there, ask your question. I'll try to get to it in a future broadcast of Raw Parenting Unfiltered. All right. By the way, if you're wondering about that resource I've mentioned a couple times. So connected cooperation is, I used to have a course called Get Your Kids to Listen and Know What to Do When They Don't. And I love that course. The intention behind that course, though, was so many parents are like, if I could just get my kid to listen, it'd be great. And I was like, all right, well, let's call the course that. It's a simple 3 modules, take a couple of weeks to work on it with your kids, and you're going to start seeing some really big improvement. However, over the years, I found 2 things happen. One, the title of the course, Get Your Kids to Listen, started sounding like I was trying to tell you how to get your kids to just, I said jump, you say how high. And it's like, no, that's not what it's about at all. That's not it at all. It's much more about relationship and connection. And so I thought, I need to change the title. I want to add a little bit more about the connections that we need to build with kids into the course. And so I took some time this summer, reworked some of the content, though the core of it is all the same, but I added some more in there. It's still 3 modules. Module 1 is all about connected cooperation. How do we build cooperation in family life between us and our kids? Module 2 is about how to take the reconnect path. When our kids get off track, when they start saying no, have bad attitudes, all that stuff, how do we reconnect with them to get them back on track in the right way? And how do we do that so that even when we're correcting, we're still connecting? And then module 3, all about differentiating it for different kids. We have kids who come in at different ages and stages. We have different kids who come in with different learning abilities, different challenges in their lives. Some kids come in with some traumatic background experiences we need to adjust for. Some kids have some special needs challenges. So module 3 is designed for adapting everything to your kid in particular. So so I just re-released that course in September here, late August, early September. I just started re-releasing it. So it's kind of fresh in my mind, and it just connects with so many issues that parents are facing because it's fundamentally working on the relationship you have with your kid. It's not about getting stuff done. It's about connecting with your kid, both when things are getting done and when things are not getting done, how to stay connected in the moment. So you can check that out, JesusHelpMeParent.com/connected cooperation. And you'll be so glad if you jump in and grab that course, you'll be so glad that you did. Self-paced, you just move it through, very affordable price because it's 3 modules, but 3 power-packed modules. They're going to do some really great work in your life. All right, let's get to another question. Let's see here. My 9-year-old, this is about, hold on one second. Yeah, I've got 2 9-year-olds in a row here. Let's try that again. My 9-year-old is very bright, but the moment she makes a mistake, whether it's on a math problem or even spilling a drink, she shuts down. Sometimes she cries, sometimes she won't even try again. I can tell her she's terrified. I can tell she's terrified. There we go. I got it. I can tell she's terrified of being wrong, but I don't know how to help her push through that. What should I do? Great question. So there's a couple things going on here. There may be some different details. We might be dealing with a bit of shame. We might be dealing with a bit of perfectionism. I'm not saying you put that on her, but I am saying she's feeling that perhaps. She's feeling like there's no place to go and grow that she can to help her kind of adapt. She needs to start learning that it's okay to make mistakes. We spend a lot of time telling kids you can be all you can be, you can achieve all you can achieve. Just keep going and you're going to be great. Think about how many of us as adults on social media, you see everybody is living their best life now. You want to crush it today. You want all the inspirational messages, which are great, but they don't leave any room for failure. They don't leave any room for falling down and struggling. There's one meme that you'll see, or maybe it's a graphic and not necessarily a meme, where they show, what everybody thinks achievement looks like. And it's this straight path upward, right? And then the next image is what it actually looks like. And it's like straight up, valley, back up, jagged edge, back up, straight cliff you got to go. And it's much more challenging. And it's realistic. That's about the only image on social media I can think of that communicates more effectively what maybe your daughter needs. If you're watching this right now and you can think of another one, let us know in the comments down below if there's another image there that's helped you with this. But we want her to understand you don't have to be perfect. A lot of people will call this developing a growth mindset. And that's exactly what we're trying to do here. Some might say we're trying to develop humility as well, that we're trying to help her realize it's okay to not get it right the first time. Everyone learns from their mistakes a whole lot more than they learn from their perfections. And helping her realize how much they learn from their mistakes. I think about my own experience as a classroom teacher. And when I have a parent who comes to me and says, hey, my kid struggles with this, they get very scared about making mistakes and things like that. I always tell them, well, good news. They have a teacher this year who makes lots of mistakes, and they're going to see him laugh at those things and be okay with it and grow from it. So part of this is us modeling it. That might be us modeling it, saying like, oh, I totally messed up this recipe. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to try again, but that's okay. And saying that out loud suddenly helps everybody in the family know, oh, mom, dad made a mistake there, but it's okay. Or maybe I'm thinking about my bathroom project that I mentioned earlier in this live stream. Maybe I'm working on my bathroom remodel and I come to the dinner table. I say, I really made a big mistake today. I was doing the wiring for the new light and I miswired the light and the fan. It took me an extra hour to figure out what I did. But you know what I did? I ended up learning how to use my multimeter in the process. And I really never knew how to use that. But now I know how to use it a whole lot better because of that mistake. That would be a great story to tell and to model for my kids. It's okay to make mistakes. But I want to give you a game that somebody else gave me one time. My friends at the National Center for Biblical Parenting taught me this game, and I absolutely love it. And I've used it with kids myself. Get yourself a little checkerboard, and you want to get all of the same color checkers to cover the whole board. So maybe you get 2 checkerboard sets, and you use all the blacks or all the reds, and you cover the whole board. And if you're like, I don't have all that, just get a ton of quarters and put them all down there. And then, without your kid looking, you're going to take either a marker or some stickers and put them on a couple of make a path with them on some of the checkers from one side of the board to the other side of the board. Make it as complex or as simple as you want based on what you think your kid can stand, based on their age, their stage, their emotions, what they can do. But make a path with the stickers and then flip them over so they can't see the stickers. And then put a sticker at the start point and the end point so they see those two. And tell them you're going to play the game. Tell them your job is to play find the path and teach them the rules. You're going to turn. Here's where the path starts. You have to get to the other end. You can flip one checker at a time, and it always has to be in a row. And if you flip a checker over and it has a sticker, you're on the path. And if you flip a checker over and it doesn't have a sticker, you're off the path. And so by doing this, you're going to uncover where the path is. But there's one catch. Anytime you turn the checker over and it has a sticker, you get to turn over another one. But if you ever turn over a checker that has no sticker on it, you have to say something and do something. What you have to say is, mistakes are okay. I can learn from my mistakes. You have to say that out loud. Mistakes are okay. I can learn from my mistakes. Then you have to flip over every part of the path you've uncovered already and start over. So it's a bit of a challenge. Make sure you're doing this playfully and recognize how challenging you might want to or not want to make this path. We want the kid to make a few mistakes here, but we don't want to frustrate them. So be thoughtful about that. And so now sit down with your kid and let them start flipping checkers. And if they flip it to the right way, give them some encouragement. Oh, you found the path. That's great. Oh, you kept finding the path. Wow. Good job. Keep going. But when they get off the path and they flip over a checker that doesn't have it, they need to say, mistakes are okay. I can learn from my mistakes, and then need to flip the whole path over and start over again. What's going to happen is your child's going to make a few mistakes along the way. And they're going to have to redo the whole thing, but they're going to have to say that little mantra, that script that we want them saying, because we want them recording that in their mind. And then when we're all done with this, they might struggle. They might make a mistake further back on the path. Maybe they get like 8 pieces forward and then they make a mistake and they undo it all. And then they go to do it again and they make a mistake at like checker number 4. That's really going to frustrate them. So you have to talk them through that. But we want them to get to the other side. And when they finally get to the other side, we're going to talk about it. We're going to say, okay, what'd you learn here? What happened? Oh, yeah. Look at that. Could you just find the path easily? No, you had to make some mistakes to figure this out. Mistakes are not bad. You can learn from them. And when you got to that place over here and you knew the other way was a mistake, you turned because you learned from your mistakes. So then you want to turn it and say, so when you're working on your math homework or when you're whatever the thing is that they really get upset about and you make a mistake, I want you to say the same thing. Mistakes are not bad. I can learn from my mistakes. and then go back at it. And you know how I was right here encouraging you and helping you along the way? If you're ever in a situation and you need help and encouragement, I'll always be there. Just come get me and I'll be there for you. But by playing that game, you're teaching your child a lesson they're not going to soon forget. And they're going to start growing a little bit more comfortable with mistakes. It won't work overnight, but over time, we'll start developing that. Let's, though, switch gears here a little bit and talk about the shame that your child might be feeling as well. You're likely not saying anything that is trying to shame your daughter here. You're probably trying to be very helpful. I'm going to assume goodwill and good intentions on your part, and that you're really trying to be super helpful to your kid, but your kid is hearing it as shame. And that's not something where it's like, oh, well, if you just change these two words, they won't hear it that way. No, she's hearing it that way. And so we need to work on developing her self-worth, developing connection with our kids, and helping her recognize that it's the mistake. It's not you. You make mistakes. You're not a mistake. You are beautifully and wonderfully made with a plan and a purpose that God has for your life. But you made a mistake, and that's okay. And so that message over and over again, and being really thoughtful about the types of memory verses maybe we work on with this kid to speak into their life about their self-worth, the comments we make to them about how what a wonderful kid they are and how much we love them, that isn't based on, thank you so much for making my bed today, I really love you, you're amazing. No, it's not about performance. It's just a comment we make. I was just thinking about what a great kid you are. You are so creative. You are so thoughtful with others. I really just love getting to be your dad, getting to be your mom. Don't attach it to a behavior. Attach it to some heart qualities, just something that's true about them. And start realizing I don't have to do a thing and they still love me. That's how Jesus feels about me. I don't have to do a thing and he loves me. Even while we were still yet sinners, Christ died for us. He loved us before we were ever, quote unquote, lovable. Right? And even now, as a follower of Jesus, we still sin, right? So we have unlovable moments there, but Jesus loves us no matter what. We want our kid to start feeling that. Another area of the Bible you can go to is the early chapters of Genesis. These are very familiar parts of the Bible to us, and we often miss things in there. But I want you to slow down your reading when you get to the fall. When you see Adam and Eve have eaten the fruit from the tree of good and bad, and now they notice that they're naked. And notice what it says next. They ate and they saw they were naked, and they excuse me, I'm saying it wrong. Let me try that again. Before they ate, let me get this right. Before they ate, they were naked and they knew no shame. Yeah, before they eat, they're naked and they know no shame. Look at afterwards. Once they eat, they're running, they're hiding, they're covering themselves. They feel shame now. But think about that. God could have placed any word he wanted to in that part of scripture. They were naked and they knew no anger. They were naked and they knew no guilt. They were naked and they knew no anxiety. They knew no whatever. He could have even put a list. They were naked and they knew no shame, nor anxiety, no worry, nor this, nor that. He could have done that too. He doesn't. God puts one word there: shame. They knew no shame. What does that tell me? That tells me in the ideal version of life, which is Eden, we were to never know shame. Yeah, we feel angry. Well, God designed us to feel angry at times. We feel anxiety at times. God designed us to feel anxiety at times. There's healthy and unhealthy versions of all these things, but we were designed to have those feelings, but never shame. And so what are the enemies of God use against us a lot? Shame. And so we need to take that on, but help your kids see that part of scripture and realize we're not meant to feel this at all. God's got something so much better for us instead. So let's pursue what God has for us instead. Again, building that connection with your kid, building that relationship with your kid is going to help them. And likely this is going to be not just something you're going to tackle once and done. Not something that's going to be like, oh, but in 4 weeks, woo, this kid will not struggle with perfectionism. It's likely one of those things that's going to get taken on in bits and pieces, and you're going to see some growth, and then something else going to crop up, and you're going to deal with that. And then you're going to see some growth, and then something else going to crop up, and you're going to deal with that. But over time, you will see your child, your daughter here, growing in this area of her heart to the point where she doesn't struggle with this nearly as much. Thank you so much for your question. I truly appreciate it. Hope you found that helpful. And if you found that helpful, hit the thumbs up button here. Looks like I have time. Excuse me. I have time for one more question here. Let's see here. Okay. My 11-year-old has a hard time taking responsibility. If something goes wrong, whether it's forgetting homework or making a mess, he immediately blames his siblings, the teacher, or even me. He just refuses to admit when something is his fault. I want him to learn accountability, but I feel stuck. How do I handle this? So, great question. Lots of kids struggle with this. And again, let's go back to Eden. Look at Eden. Here comes Yahweh walking in the garden, and he looks at Adam and Eve and the serpent, and he looks at Adam and says, "Hey, where are you?" First, he starts asking, "Where are you guys?" He's not asking us; he doesn't know. He's looking to see, are they going to come out? And then he asks them questions like, "Hey, what happened? Who told you you were naked?" When they says, "Oh, I hid because didn't want you to see me. I'm naked." Who told you that? Did you eat of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and bad? This woman who you gave me, look what he does right away. And yeah, he's blaming everybody for himself. And then God turns to Eve. He's like, all right, I'll get back to you. Yahweh's like, I'll get back to you, Adam. He turns to Eve. Is this true? And she's like, well, the snake, right? She right away, she points too. So we've been doing this for a while. Okay. And our kids do this too. What's going on? Uh, well, we might be struggling with some pride, might be struggling with some shame. We might just be trying to avoid responsibility. All the things I was saying earlier to shame, we want to work on with this kid too. We want to be building connection with this kid. We want to be just developing this relationship. And 11-year-olds, that's a really important time to delve into relationship. Everyone looks at the teenage years and they think the teenage years are really hard. They can be, yeah, absolutely, but they don't have to be impossible. God didn't make child development and all right, I'm going to do a great job making babies adorable, and they're going to keep their parents up a bit, but they're going to be cute enough to sustain that. And then, all right, here they are in childhood, and they're going to be lots of fun, and they're going to disobey sometimes, but the fun's going to overcome that. And then God goes, I don't know what to do about the 13 to 18-year-olds, but let's go to the 20-year-old. God didn't do that. Okay. He has a plan for our teenagers too, but it is challenging. Here's the key. 9 to 12-year-old time period is the time period to lay some really good foundations to help us with the teenage years. And that comes through connection. You as a dad and a mom have a role to play in your daughter and your son's lives. You have different jobs during those years, but you both have really important jobs during those years. But whoever is the same sex as the child here, so dad and son, mom and daughter, you're going to be more of the tour guide into masculinity or the tour guide into femininity, tour guide into manhood and womanhood. But the opposite parent has a lot of important jobs to play too. So don't hear me wrong there. But we do that at the 9 to 12-year-old time period, setting up the relationship so well. So if we're struggling to take responsibility, if we're blaming everybody else, a lot of times that means we're not feeling as connected and we're not feeling safe in the relationships we have with our parents right now. That's not because you're doing anything wrong. So don't blame yourself, but just recognize, okay, this kid needs me to invest a little bit more right now. A lot of times when our kids are acting up, what they're trying to say in their immature way is, I'm not feeling seen. And so we want to help them feel seen in that moment by connecting with them and building relationship with them. That being said, we still need to develop responsibility. We want that to take root in our child's life. And so how do we do that? By giving our kid responsibilities, by giving them small jobs that they can tackle. Chores are huge. Not go clean your room, go rake the whole backyard, though there's value in those things too, but simple things. Go hang your coat up in the closet and come back and check in with me. Clear the table into the dishwasher and come back and check in with me. Put your shoes away, come back and check in with me. Whatever those simple tasks that are very specific can be, because we want them to be successful. We want them to feel good about it. We want to be able to say, hey, great job. You're free to go. Because we're going to give kids responsibilities. We need to be willing to take we're going to put a little weight on their heart. When we tell them to go clear the dishes or put away their jacket or pick up or reorganize the shelf with the board games on it, we're putting a little weight on their heart, right on their conscience that says, you got to do something right now because the parent told you to do something right now. This is called responsibility. That's what the feeling is. And the only way to get rid of that feeling, that healthy weightiness, not panic, just feeling that, oh, I got to get something done here, is to go do it and to check back in. Because the parent who put it there is the only one who can go check your work and say, hey, great job. You're free to go. Thank you so much for doing that. Or to say, hey, great job. I noticed what you did. You put all the boxes this way, but there's a bunch of loose pieces on the floor here. Grab a Ziploc bag, put them in there, and we'll put it on this shelf here. We'll try to sort those later. And then you're free to go. Like, yeah, your kid's not going to do it perfect every time, but we can keep the feedback positive and focused to help our kid develop that. Now, I could do a whole 3 hours on this easily, but I'll also just send you over to JesusHelpMeParent.com/connected cooperation. I'll put the link in the description down below. That's going to help you a ton. I was talking about it earlier in the live stream. This is a 3-module parenting mini course that is going to teach you how to connect with your kids while you're still trying to get stuff done. And then how to stay connected even when they're not doing the right thing, even when they're not acting the right way and they need us to bring some correction into their lives, we can still be connecting with them. And so again, JesusHelpMeParent.com/connected cooperation. But the big thing here is deepening the relationship with our kid to make sure they're not feeling shame or anything like that, and having routine opportunities, daily opportunities to practice responsibility. I'm talking 10, 15, 20 times a day. That doesn't mean 20 chores, but it does mean things like go brush your teeth and come back and check in with me. Boom. There's responsibility, a job to do, come back. Oh, great job. Yeah, I can smell your breath. It smells great. You're free to go. Right? Simple things, as simple as that. If you get your kid up in the morning, there's easily 5 things they do before they go to get their breakfast. You just got 5 of them in. So go ahead and do that. You'll be so glad that you did. Thank you so much for your question. Megan, good to see you here tonight. I'm going to just read your comment here. I just want to say how much I appreciate you. Oh, thank you so much, Megan. You are helping me unlearn all the bad parenting I was raised in and helping me become a Jesus-based healthy parent. Thank you. Oh, Megan, thank you so much for that. That touches my heart so much. And just know you're hearing this from a fellow parent who is recovering too and struggling through it too. I had good parents. I love my parents. My parents, come from different faith backgrounds, but at the end of the day, I love them deeply, and my mom helped me learn a lot about Jesus and brought me to a place where I accepted Jesus as my savior. And she passed on when I was about 16 years old. I don't think I've ever told that part of the story on YouTube. But she was a wonderful mom for 16 years. My dad's been a wonderful dad, but they didn't do it perfectly. And guess what? My wife has some wonderful parents, and they didn't do it perfectly. And guess what? Now we're married, and guess what? We're not doing it perfectly. But hopefully, we're getting a little bit better each and every day. And I find if we're willing to be open to hearing Jesus talk to us about our parenting, we're going to get better a lot faster. We're not supposed to be perfect parents. We're supposed to make mistakes. That's going to happen. And in fact, there's a bit of research out there that talks about when you make mistakes, but you fix them up with your kids. You go and apologize for yelling at them. You make amends with your kids when you do something wrong in your parenting. Sometimes those are the most powerful and healing and impactful parenting moments you'll have, even better than when you're getting it right. So, listen, when you're getting it wrong and you know it, go apologize to your kids, fix it up, and then walk away going, all right, I guess I just had a really great parenting moment. Better than if I had just gotten it right. I'm not saying shoot for messing up. I'm just saying be willing to forgive yourself as much as Jesus forgives you too. But yeah, just know I'm a great parent. I'm a great parent on YouTube where I can hit the edit button, right? Then I got to live it out. My son is starting to edit these videos for me. And he joked with me the other day. He said, Dad, I'm going to become a really great parent if I have to edit your videos. I said, well, thanks. You also are going to get to see if I actually live out what I say online. And hopefully they match pretty closely. But you're going to see sometimes they don't always match because I blow it sometimes, kid. And he laughed and said, yeah, sometimes, but you're great. And I appreciated that from him. Very gracious. So just know when I'm on here talking about parenting, I'm talking from my own experience. I'm talking from training I've had. I'm talking from having spoken with and coached like over 200 parents at this point, and done live seminars for lots more. So I've got a lot of different experiences, but I'm not talking from perfection. And I'm not talking from you should be like me. You should do it this way. No. If you're going to do it like me, it's going to be on your knees asking Jesus for a lot of help. There's a reason why the channel is called Jesus Help Me Parent and not BJ Help Me Parent. Okay. It's because BJ's asking the same question. Jesus Help Me Parent. So, Megan, thank you so much. I appreciate that comment so much. Thank you so much. And I'm looking at the time here. Speaking of coaching, I got to go coach family right now. So I'll be back here next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with more of your questions. If you've got a question and you're watching this on the replay, description down below. I've said it a couple times now. Click the link, put it there, and I'll do my best to answer your questions on next week or the following week whenever I get to them. But Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tell your friends, hit the share button. Tell them, hey, I'm watching this guy on YouTube and he's got a couple really good ideas and he's helped me realize I don't got to be perfect. I just need to ask Jesus for help. All right. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you real soon. Be blessed in your parenting, everybody. Bye-bye.